In this video, we are going to be talking about creating components. So, before we go ahead and create ourselves a sketch and then extrude it and all that fun stuff, we are going to create one simple sketch. So let's say you just want to create a box, just a plain old solid box. We can go ahead under the solid tab, click create, and we can select the box, the cylinder, a sphere, a torus, the coil, or a pipe, instead of going ahead, drawing all this stuff and extruding everything. So let's have a look at our box, for example. We're going to click on that. We're going to select a plane that we want to draw it on, and I'm going to select the top plane. I'm going to select the origin to start my box, and now I have to select or type in the measurements that I want. So let's say I want it to be 45 millimeters, and let's say we actually want a rectangle. So we are going to click on tab to access the second dimension, so tab, and now I can access the second dimension and type in a different dimension. So I'm going to type in 30. And there we go, we now have ourselves a rectangle. So I'm happy with these. I'm going to click enter, and now I have this rectangle that I can start extruding. So as you guys can see, we've got these options over here, so we can change our length. And if you guys want to change your width or the height of this thing or this box, you are more than welcome to do so. So let's say I made a mistake. I want the length to be 40 instead, which we can just go ahead and type in those digits. So let's just take it back to 30. And then how high do we want it? Let's say we just want it 20 millimeters high. And then we're going to go ahead and click on OK. And there we go. We've got our box. Okay, so let's say we want to add a cylinder on the top of this box. I'm going to go ahead and click on cylinder, and I now have these planes that I can actually draw on. Or start from. So I'm going to click on the top plane of this box, and we can now start our cylinder. We're just going to start it in a random place, and we can select the diameter of our circle. So let's say 20 is fine, and we're going to click enter. We can now extrude our cylinder. So let's extrude it some more. We can go to 25, and then we're going to go ahead and have a look at these options at the right here. So we've got the diameter that we can change the height, and then we've got this operation that says join, cut, intersect, new body, or new component. So we can join these two items, so we can join the cylinder and the box, or we can cut them. So if we cut them we can cut them by pulling this arrow down. So instead of extruding the circle, we are going to be cutting. So we can now have a hole inside of our box. If you do not want to join these items, you can go ahead and say new body. The reason why you would want to have a new body, let's say new body, we're going to say okay. The reason why you would want to have a new body is so that you can have two different things to work on. So if you do combine these two, you're only going to have one body. And then it's the same for everything else. So a sphere, we're going to go ahead, select an option. We're going to draw on the circle, and let's make it bigger. So as you guys can see, it's already decided to cut instead of join. So we're going to click on join. Actually, let's say new body, and we're going to click OK. So now we've got the sphere inside of our cylinder. Okay, so we're going to go and have a look at the coil option. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a box again. We're going to say 40 by 40. We're going to say okay, and 10 height is fine. We're going to do that. And then I'm going to put a cylinder back on the top here, So let's just do that. I'm going to make it 20 diameter again. Let's make it 40 millimeters high, and we're going to say OK. So let's say I want to add a coil onto the cylinder. I'm going to go ahead, create. I'm going to click on coil, and then you guys will see that it's not allowing me to do it on the cylinder, but only on the box. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the box, and or the plane of the box, and then you guys will see that we've got a nice center point of the cylinder that we can use. And then we're going to do that. So our cylinder is 20 mils, and we're going to make this, I think it was less than, so we're going to say 19.8. And then that means our coil is going to be intersecting the cylinder. But I don't want that to happen. I basically want the coil to act as like threads so that we can screw a lid on or something. I'm going to say new body. And then as you guys can see, there are various options for this coil that we can use. We can make the coil thicker, or we can make it thinner. We can move it a bit more out. So this would be like a spring kind of thing. And then you can move the coils up or down, the spring, whatever you want to call it. So I'm just going to move it back, and I'm going to say 19.8 so that it is kind of glued on to the cylinder. And then we are going to take that back down. So yes, you can change the options in the to the right over here. As you guys can see, we've got these options here, so we can change the diameter. We can also change the rotation at which the coil or the spring is going. You can change how many revolutions it has, so we can change it to 5, or we can make it less, whatever you would like to do. And then we can change the height of the coil. So let's say we want it to be 40, we can do that. Or we can make it less than, so let's say 20, and then the coil is going to be half of the cylinder. We can also change the angle. So you can also change the angle over here by doing that. So let's just take it back to 0 degrees. Let's say 90 degrees, which obviously it's not going to work. So let's say 180, and then obviously we can move it back up and down. So yes, let's just take that back to 0. And then we can also change the view or the pattern, or the pattern of the coil. So we can have it circular, we can have it square, we can have it triangular, or we can have it internally triangle. Let's just stick to circle for now. Of course, we can go over this in more depth in future videos, doing other things, but just a quick view on this. If you guys want this coil to now cut the cylinder, you can go ahead and say cut, or you can say join if you want it to be one part, or you can say new body if you guys want to basically just edit it later on, or whatever the case is. Or if you just want to move it and you don't want to move the cylinder with it, or whatever. Okay, and then we've got our pipe option. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, create a sketch. I'm going to select the top plane. I want to select the, okay, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to select this plane. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make a spline over here. And then I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to say finish sketch. And then I'm going to go to the option that says pipe. So I can now select the line that I've drawn, and you guys will see that we now have this pipe over here. If I click on this, it is going to change the diameter of the pipe. And then if I click on this arrow that is over here, so let's just quickly move our cube around. If I change this, it is going to make the pipe longer over here if it needs to be. So let's make it longer, or we could even make it shorter. We can go over the spline that we've drawn. So if we don't want this full thing to be a pipe, we can just go over and do that. So we want it to be a pipe up until there. Okay, so let's just take it back to where it was. And then, so we can actually make this a new body. We can cut into the block over there, or whatever the case is, that the project that you are working on. But just for argument's sake, we're just going to say new body. And then, of course, over here is where you can also change all of the stuff that we've just changed with these arrows. So as you guys can see, that when I'm moving this arrow, the distance over here is changing. And if I go back, we start going back to 0. Okay, and then if I click on this arrow, our diameter is changing of the pipe. And then we can change the shapes of this pipe to square or triangular or circle. We're just going to leave it as circle because a pipe is a circle. And yes, that is the pipe option. So one more option is we can actually make this pipe hollow. And if we click on hollow, we now have another arrow. So we can now make the hole through the pipe bigger or smaller. And then of course we have the option over here so the thickness, the wall thickness of the pipe, we can change that and say 0.2 or 0.3, whatever the case is for your project. And then we're going to go ahead, click OK, and that is our pipe. So that is it for making new components. If you guys just have a look here in the timeline, we can actually see that we've just got a box here, we've just got a cylinder here, we've got the coil here. I needed to use sketches for the pipe, and then of course we have our pipe here. So we don't have sketch, extrude, sketch, extrude, it just makes the timeline a little bit cleaner and easier to deal with. Okay, so that is it for creating components. I hope that this video helped you. If it did, please give it a like. Subscribe if you guys have not yet done so. And I hope to see you guys in the next one. And yeah, good luck on your Fusion 360 journey.